How you doing?
All right, so we're back after break. This is College Talk Tuesday. Pearl and Andy Lockwood here to talk about all things college, college admissions, college financial aid, college scholarships, test prep. Don't forget the test prep. And the basic question of why the hell are you going to college anyway? What are you going to major in? Careers? Can you get a job? Can you get off the family payroll? All that in the next 23 minutes. Now, Pearl, did you have a nice break?
I did. It was very relaxing. And you?
Yes.
Good.
And
Some
we
time
were
with the family?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we were together, actually, because we were very tight. So hopefully anyone joining us, you guys had a nice break also. Now we're back to business. So here's what's happening. This show is all about what's happening now and what you should be on the lookout for. And if you have any questions, pop them into the comments section. Anything about college planning, or if you just want to say hi, please share with anyone you think could benefit from this information, because we know you're not going to be getting it from your, guidance counselors and other people you'd hope to get it from. So that's a separate issue. So let's talk a little bit about all of those. Two things. We're going to talk, actually three things. We're going to talk about the financial aid awards that are starting to come in. We're going to talk also about those spazzy emails that are causing clients to be, and people who filed their financial aid forms to be spazzy and stressed out and anxious, that are coming from the colleges. Okay. And I think that's yoga. And on top of that, we're going to talk about a recent conversation I had had to do with a student athlete who was recruited, and they wish things turned out differently for them. So I wanted to share that with you, just in case you have a student athlete, or there's some lessons even for non-student athletes there too. So so let's talk about what's happening now as we close out February. And financial aid awards, a lot of them have come in. But what else is happening? Have all of them come in?
Right. Well, it's a little bit of a calm, sort of, an uneasy calm at this point, in that financial aid forms, whether you've applied early decision or early action or regular decision, have pretty much all been filed at this point. If you applied early action or early decision, then it's likely at this point you have heard a financial aid award decision, or your application was turned over to the regular decision status, in which case you probably have not heard yet. And because many people have heard already, whether it was early action or early decision, or for that matter rolling admission, when you've heard from some or many, you start to get anxious, or we have found that people are getting very anxious as to, well, when are we going to hear the rest?
Understandably.
And is it understandably, of course. But there is until April 15th until many of these schools have ever acknowledged that they are going to get back to you. So we're still a little bit early in the game for you to have heard back from everywhere. And
even though it doesn't feel early, because I'm sure you've had.
That's right.
You've been on the phone a lot. I've been on the phone a lot since we got back from break. I'm down to about 39 emails.
Nice.
By the way, crossed the 40 Rubicon.
Clear.
But so competitive. But the types of conversations I'm having are, we've heard from college A, B, C, D, and E, but we haven't heard from the rest of them. But how do we get more money out of A, B, C, and D?
Right.
And the conversations I'm having are, well, look, I'd rather you wait till we get all of the offers in from all these other schools, and then the response is usually, well, that may not happen till when, like March, and then so we're
going
to
have to make narrow time.
We're going to have to make a decision by May 1st. So what do we do? And you know what? And my answer is always, it ain't pretty, but it'll get done. April is a very busy month.
Correct.
Yeah.
And what you don't want to do is, gosh, there's only one not so clean expression I have for this, but you don't want to blow your chances and not wait for what could be one of your best offers that has yet to come in the next month or so, and go ahead and launch an appeal because you want to go to the school that you've heard from and they didn't give you enough, and you're really focused on that one school, instead of realizing that one of the schools you may not be interested in attending may have the best offer out there to give you, and therefore provides the best leverage for you when making an appeal. You don't really get 2 bites at that appeal apple, if you will.
The appeal apple. So just to flesh that out a little bit, what Pearl's saying, not the apple, is that one of my favorite ways to get more money out of a school is to show them other offers from other colleges. So if you jump the gun and you don't wait for what could be your best offer, and you go to the school that you want to attend prematurely, you might be shooting yourself in the foot because you won't have had all that leverage that Pearl just mentioned. You won't be able to say, well, we got this other offer. Is there any way that you can possibly meet or exceed that other offer? So it's very important to wait, even though it'll all settle for the most part within a couple of months. So I know this is like nail-biting time,
Yeah.
but that's just, there's no magic wand. You just have to wait.
No.
Yeah. So if you just, hold on a second, if you're just joining us, and I see Cheryl is here. Hello, Cheryl, loyal listener, Cheryl, and we got congratulations from Omar, and Tammy's got a question, which I'm going to address. That just popped up. So welcome. Say hi in chat. Give us a little thumbs up or something, just to let us know that you're paying attention. You're not too enmeshed in your liquid lunch or whatever you're doing now. College Talk Tuesdays every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, and it's just a conversation like this about what is happening now and what you should be doing now. And I also want to quickly plug two other things. Friday mornings at 9 Eastern, I do 1 hour of free college coaching for anyone. It's just me hanging out, whatever questions you have specifically about your particular situation, I'll answer that right there on, because I don't do one-on-one consultations anymore for the most part, because we just got too busy last year. But I still want to be able to give free advice. I just decided that using the old interwebs and Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook is the best way to do it. So that's every Friday at 9. And other plug, we have an ACT class starting this Sunday in our office locally. We're toying with the idea of live streaming it. I'm just not too confident in the bandwidth, but we may offer that at a I don't know, beta reduced price type of thing. So okay, so now I interrupted you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's okay. The other thing that's happening nowadays in financial aid world are some schools that are regular decision, and you may have. My personal practice is to file to all schools that one is applying to according to the earliest deadline, because earlier is always better in terms of filing. So
And life.
yeah, and life, yes. So what happens though at many schools, just automatically when it gets around to reviewing your application and reviewing your financial aid information, it may send a blast email to all of its applicants about making you aware that financial aid applications exist for you to apply to, and hey, come avail yourself. Are you
What? Am I distracted?
a little?
Well,
And come avail
lights, like-
avail yourself of our financial aid award. And at that, unfortunately, it looks so much like you're missing your financial aid award is what I find many people read into such a blast email.
Now these are these spazzy emails you're talking about.
These are, yes.
We're segueing to spazzy emails.
Spazzy email segue, yes. And when you know that a financial aid form has been filed, whether it is the FAFSA, which is taken at all the schools out there, or the CSS profile, the additional financial aid form that is required by a handful of all of the schools out there, roughly 300 or so. The option is not yours. The
400.
400 or so. The school instructs you as to which forms it requires of you. So irrespective of which form it is, if you have filed it, there is always a way to retrieve the filing of the CSS or the FAFSA, which contains the time and the date of that filing and the schools that you submitted to on that particular date.
So even if a school says we didn't get your forms, you
Right.
can 99% of the time go back and look at the receipt and say, oh look, we sent it to you
Yes.
on October 25th.
Correct. You can always
how many of
provide
those-
that backup. I cannot, if I had $1 or nickel or whatever or Bitcoin.
Nice.
For every time I received an email of panic, such and such a school, and it's across the board. It's not just the good ones. It's not just the bad ones. It's not just the state schools. It's not just the private schools. Across the board, schools say that they are missing stuff that, in fact, we all know, or you know, that they have. It's just the way it is. I'm so sorry to be the bearer of this bad news.
That's good news.
But not to panic. Just roll with it. Know that this is the way it is. Sometimes it could be right, and if you did not file, you should check. But if you know that a school has been filed, it's been your first choice since November, since the first day these things have come out, and it's been filed, and you remember when you submitted it, and you have the confirmation. There is always a way with the FAFSA and the CSS, but I just want to touch on the FAFSA because we just had that issue come up.
Go ahead and touch. Not me, the FAFSA.
You said I could. I know, this stuff is so interesting, we have to interject a little. Okay.
You don't have to do that.
I do. Okay, so when one files the FAFSA, one is only allowed to file to 10 schools at a time. So if you are applying to...
And why is that?
That's just the rules of the Department of Education and
But
the FAFSA rules.
I don't like that.
I know you don't like that, but that's the way it is. Life is full of pain. So,
I said that in an email this morning.
Life is full of pain? I did not. Yeah. I think we're spending a lot of time together. You know, dogs and owners start to look alike.
And you imitate me. Good.
So, if you are applying to, let's say, 15 schools, the practice is you file to the 10 schools on your list first that have the earliest priority financial aid deadline. And then, after about a day or so, when that first batch of 10 completes processing, you go back into the already filed FAFSA, you remove those schools, and you add back, or you add in, those remaining 5 schools. Then
so you just remove 5 random schools?
I personally remove all of them because I like to keep it clean so that when I go back to old filings to see what was filed when, I don't get confused.
But it's not as though you're pulling...
You don't have to.
But you're not pulling the FAFSA from the schools they were submitted to.
No.
You're just sending a new batch.
Yes, that is correct.
The batch.
But my own practice is to remove all the schools that have already gotten it so I can keep it.
Yes, you've explained that.
Okay, so now, hear me out. So now we have submitted that last 5. So you went in, you removed, you added the 5 schools, you file it. A new confirmation email is generated, and that subsequent confirmation email will be confirmed to you as a correction made to the FAFSA. Don't panic. Don't be alarmed.
Does that mean something was wrong before when you get a correction?
No, it means the Department of Education has not used its best efforts at plain language to use in the confirmation email. It should say an update has been made. Oh my God, that's so weird. Okay, but they don't, and they use the word correction, which sort of feels sadistic and designed to cause panic and alarm. But hopefully,
you think everyone's out to get you?
I think I'm a little cynical. I didn't submit that this year. Anyhow, anywho, so however.
So don't panic.
Let me.
Still.
Don't panic. Don't panic. Now let's just say some such school says, hey, we're missing your FAFSA, and you go back into your submitted FAFSA to check, and you log in, and you pull up the student aid report, if it just, because there is a place for you to click that says pull up student aid report. Naturally, you would click on that to see your receipt. And what you will see if you do that is only those last 5 schools that you filed. Oh, does that mean, what do I do?
You just had a client do that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So,
but easy mistake to make.
It is an easy mistake, but and again, it's sort of counterintuitive that would be the predominant. It doesn't say most recent SAR student aid report. It just says your student aid report, which, again, if in a perfect world, it would have all the schools that you've applied to thus far, but it does not. So what you do to verify any such questioning school as to the whereabouts of your form, in the FAFSA, when you log in, it says click on correction history. when you click on correction history, it will list by date every FAFSA filing for that student. So if you go to the earliest date, you will find the student aid report for those 10 schools you initially filed, and then if you go to the most recent, you will find the student aid report for those remaining 5 schools.
That's a little inside baseball tip.
Yeah, well, I aim to please.
Okay. That was disturbing. So, okay, so I think we've covered that topic.
I think so.
Okay, so now I want to switch gears a little bit to talk about a conversation that I had yesterday that we've had, dozens of times. And then I want to get to, oh, hello, Terry. Terry just joined us. I also want to get to, Tammy has a couple of questions. And anyone else, if you're just joining us and you have any quick questions, this is a great opportunity. We'll be on the air for another 10 minutes or so to fire those questions away, and we'll get to them. But if you're watching this on replay, same thing, pop them in there. And if you want a live coaching session every Friday, 9 a.m., right here on this page, it's free, 9 to 10, or as long as I need to be on. I go through your questions, one-on-one coaching questions. Okay, so conversation I had was along the lines of, hey, I got your name from such and such, and here's my situation, and I won't give you the details that just in case you know this person, because you never know. But the gist of it was our son was a recruited athlete. He had all these offers to go to certain colleges, but he ended up selecting one that asked us to rush in our financial aid forms, our FAFSA, and our CSS profile, and we rushed him in. We had like 2 days to do it. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. We got him in. I'm sure I made all sorts of mistakes, and when when the dust settled, we were obligated to go there because we applied early decision, and we got zero money. And we don't really make a lot of money, and we don't, we're on, actually one of them's on a pension. So I asked him some more questions, which really aren't important for the purpose of what I'm talking about today. But at the end of the day, the result was, number one, I said, I'm sorry, I can't help you because it's too late for you. And they said, well, at least we know that it would have made a difference in terms of the mistakes we made on the forms because they did make mistakes, but they were immaterial. The results still would have been the same. But they said, I wished I had talked to you earlier about this because I don't think we would have chosen that college because we did have offers from other schools, and I don't know if we would have committed early decision, which most coaches want you to do.
They pressure these kids.
Yeah, and the parents.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes it's more the parents than the kids.
It's insane.
By the way, yeah.
Yeah.
So whether or not you have a student athlete, to me, the student athlete thing is just an extension of just the whole overview, the whole process of pressure, and some of it is self-imposed, but a lot of it is external, coming from colleges, coaches, admissions people
with their own agendas.
The marketing guys, yeah, because they want you to apply early decision, but that negates a lot of the leverage that we opened up this show talking about, which is having other offers from other schools. So and by the way, I was surprised. Excuse me. I was surprised at some of the other colleges that the athletes said no to because they were better or more competitive than the one that they chose.
More competitive academically, or was the school that they went with better in the athlete world?
Yeah, I don't know about that, but that's always the distinction. Here's one thing I can tell you.
My next question would be, are they becoming a professional athlete of such sport?
Exactly. Here's what I can tell you. It makes no difference for life after college which one of these schools they go to because there isn't even a professional league for this type of sport.
Wow.
It's not men's Division I basketball or men's Division I football, which frankly we don't see a lot of athletes who play those sports in our practice, but we do see a lot of people who play lacrosse or swim or do what are some of the other sports that more fencing?
Fencing.
Yeah. So because we have a lot of sort of affluent or mass affluent clients. So anyway, so
which also brings
they
up
knew about us. I was just gonna say they knew about us from getting referral from their friends, who also eerily went through virtually the same exact process a year ahead of these guys. And that's how they know each other because they're part of the same sports community as well as geographic community. And they still didn't pull the trigger on, they let themselves kind of get swept up in all this pressure and all this swirling stuff of the recruiting, and it's very easy to do,
Yeah.
and it's very flattering. It's like an ego thing. I get that, but like Pearl said, most of the time, it's not really going to matter after college that you played a sport in college, and because you're not going to go pro, so you need to have a little bit of perspective,
Right.
and go to play a sport to go to college, not go to college to play a sport. It's really a warped perspective.
Yeah.
I think so. Anyway.
By the
Comments?
way, well, my comment, you
And I've
actually
got some
mentioned the
questions
very
here, yeah.
word that it was, bugging me, but perspective. In many ways, in this process, you could really lose the forest for the trees, whether it is the external pressures of, the water cooler chat, proverbial water cooler of moms on the soccer field, talking about this one getting a full ride for their athleticism, and there are lots of common things, myths that get thrown around every single year that cause people to lose their way and their perspective with the college pursuit, and it's very important to.
I would argue that they don't necessarily have that way to lose in the first place. Sometimes I think they're so caught up in, because if you think about it, we see this all the time. So we have 4 kids. I was a Division III athlete also. We've been around sports for a long time, collectively, and we've heard kids. I remember at a soccer practice when Lizzie, our daughter, was like 8 years old, and the parents were talking about which trainers to use because such and such such trainer had a kid who was being recruited to University of New Hampshire for goalie or something.
Right.
And I was just thinking to myself, like, if you added up the dollars that you spend on the private lessons, the travel club fees, just the travel itself, the opportunity costs of not doing other stuff like maybe
counseling for your game face,
just taking time off from work, all that other stuff. If you probably don't want to do this, but I think you should. You can spend $100,000 in some parts of the country, like where we live in Long Island, on all this stuff to maybe get a $2,000 scholarship if you're elite.
Right.
To go to Division I. So I'm not saying don't do all that stuff, but put it in perspective.
Right.
But I don't think it's necessarily losing in perspective. I think sometimes they just never had it because it's so easy to get caught up in the water cooler, the Facebook stuff,
or a lot of
the
times,
pasta nights.
Right, exactly.
Right,
Or what I think people also fall prey to is hearing little bits of other people's outsides, if you will, not that dissimilar
which
from
may be partially
Facebook.
true, or
it's just
or not.
a contrived version of what that speaker, if you will, wants you to know and hear.
I got one for you.
Yeah.
Oh, so and so is going down to blah 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 because she's being recruited for horseback riding.
Oh.
Remember that one?
Yes, of course I do.
That's a fact-based one. Too damaging to say. Being recruited,
or even
and then you pointed out to me, weeks or months later, that so and so who's being recruited for horseback riding, didn't even make the team wherever she rides locally.
Right.
So how is that being recruited down in University of whatever? I won't say that, but but it's partial truth.
Okay.
She's being recruited by us to go down there and continue with her narcissistic pursuits. Thank you. Too harsh?
Not for me.
False?
Nope.
100% true.
Nope.
Let's pause for some questions and comments. If you have any questions or comments, you got another 5 minutes, and let me just go through here. So, Tammy, is it okay to ask for more money at a school you may not attend? We've only heard from 2 of 8 schools. So you're saying wait till all 8 are in. So that was 2 parts. Yeah, I would wait, and then I would identify your top choice school and focus on them first and tell them you're the top choice school. I should teach a class on this. I'm going to be promoting that probably next week on how to do an appeal. But that's part of it, is identifying your top choice school and making sure they know that. Because if there were magic words, it would be, you're my top choice school, I want to come. Okay. Eileen Munoz, for financial aid, do private Christian colleges take into account that you're paying tuition for younger children that you have in private Christian high school? You can answer that one because you fill out the financial aid forms.
If the school requires the CSS profile, the second financial aid form that is required by some schools, there is a place that asks about siblings and whether they attend a private institution for secondary school, in which case you also list how much the parent pays, whether there have been any scholarships or grants given for that student, and if not, how much the parent is paying for that school, the name of the school, whether they'll be attending that school next year as well.
And some colleges have supplemental questions on the CSS profile of school, and those tend to be the Jesuit colleges, like, I don't know, Villanova or schools like that seem to be very interested in finding out whether you have brought your children up in the Jesuit or other, I guess, religious traditions. So there may be a place for that. If there isn't a place for that, if you're the schools you're applying to aren't profile schools, I would still tell them that. I mean, I would still, when you do an appeal, I think it's worth bringing up any new facts that have a bearing on your ability to pay for college. So that could certainly be one of those, which is that you made the decision to follow your religious faith and kind of put your money where your mouth is, but that money, it's not infinite. It takes away from other resources that you might otherwise have used to pay for college for your older kid. So that's definitely important. All right. Okay, I think we are done with the questions. Tammy, you are welcome. Cheryl, uncharacteristically quiet. I hope that means everything's okay with you.
Maybe she's in class.
That's right. Or maybe she's just medicating herself.
No.
I don't know.
Could be in
Or
class.
both.
Could be both.
Yeah. Well, if you're in class, you shouldn't be watching us on Facebook. Naughty. Cheryl, I texted you the name of the contact information for Debbie, our other ACT tutor that we talked about before. So hopefully you got that. I sent that to you a couple days ago, I think. All right, I think we're going to wrap up. So we have, again, college coffee talk this Friday at 9 a.m. It's coaching questions, anything you got about your own situation. I'm going to stay on for about an hour. As long as people have questions, that's free. There's no charge at all. And we also have an ACT small group class starting up this Sunday. I think we still have 6 spots left, and we're just coming off of, I don't know if you saw the email that I sent today, but one of the coolest things for Marissa, our main tutor, is she's really, of course we think the world of her, we think she's great, she happens to be a great person.
But she is.
Also, no, I think a lot of people are really good at teaching, I mean, honestly, but I think the difference with her is just philosophically, and this actually got her into trouble before with another big firm that she used to work for, is maybe she didn't even get the job actually. Philosophically, she tries to get kids the highest scores in the quickest amount of time, as opposed to enrolling kids in extended, protracted, year-long, 2 years, and very expensive classes, and that's why she wasn't hired, I think, by one of the big firms.
She's going to get her job done too fast.
Well, that's literally what she was told was, we don't, we sign everyone up for a minimum of 36 hours of prep. And this, I'm definitely not going to mention names, but everyone watching this has heard of this firm. So anyway, we've just started getting results back because the December ACT results are just starting to be released. So we had one client, Faith, up in Maine, actually, who went from a 20 on her initial test to a 25. And we have another a client, Emma, who's local, who went from I think it was a 25 to 30.
Wow.
And which is her goal, and that was really after.
It's a big benchmark.
I don't think it was more than 15 hours of prep or something, which is about the lowest. Again, a lot of firms look for that 36 hour benchmark.
Firms.
Other firms do, yeah. So so we're getting. She continues. I mean, we get these results all the time, and the class is guaranteed. So you can basically sit there for the first class, and if you decide that it's not for you, we'll just refund all your money. But we're able to do that because her results are so good. We're so confident in her, and she's happy to put her money where her mouth is. So you can get more information on Lockwood Test Prep, which I'm posting right here. And there's a coupon code. I think ACT Crush. If you're interested in getting $100 off, just private message me. And if we have space, I will give you the coupon code to get $100 off. It's a $100 scholarship. Get it? Scholarship, not discount. It's a scholarship. Yeah, thanks. All right, so all right, we got some more comments here. Sal and Donna Valente, roll tide. Does that mean that you're ready to announce a commitment to Alabama? Is that the subtle message that Sal is? I haven't talked to Sal in a while. One of our 2 Valente clients who are both in the same business.
Yeah.
Still cracks me up.
So
yeah, and they don't know each other,
yeah.
and they're like maybe 15 miles apart from each other. Pat, okay, do you think the net calculators and sites are true? I think they are fact-based, but they're not. I would not rely on them to the dollar because they don't help you. Like, we spend a lot of time helping people try to optimize their eligibility for financial aid. The calculators won't tell you whether you're in the best position to get aid or give you suggestions how to improve your aid.
Right.
Plus, there's so many other moving parts.
Yep.
So I would use them as a guideline, but don't rely on them.
Very loose,
Yes.
and more like a starting point is what I try to educate people. When people get back their EFC and they immediately see a number and they say, oh, this is what FAFSA is giving me. Well, FAFSA is not giving you anything. FAFSA is simply a vehicle through which the Department of Education uses and unifies for everyone to put their income information in and their ages and their kids and who's going to college and this and their assets and that and that, and it spits out a number when you submit it, and that number is your expected family contribution. Is that what you're gonna pay? No. It's merely a starting point for each school. They take your expected family contribution, i.e. the number that the Department of Education has determined that your family can pay for 1 year of college, and then each school, what each school does with that EFC, that number, is slightly different in its own hopper. It takes that number and it puts it in its own hopper and calculations when it then determines how much need are you still showing and how much need does that particular institution meet. Does it meet, in other words, if your EFC is $40,000 and you're looking at one school that the cost of attendance all in is $60,000, you are showing need of $20,000. Does the particular institution meet 100% of that need, that $20,000, or only 50%? All of this turns and bears on ultimately what the financial aid award that particular institution is going to issue you. Also, do you have appealable issues that should be brought forth to the financial aid office? In other words, if you are applying to a school that is a FAFSA only school, FAFSA only requiring school, there is no opportunity on a FAFSA to provide any explanation or comments about some of your financial information that may bear no relevance to what your current financial reality is. So in those instances, again, don't adhere yourself to this number that popped out. More steps would need to be taken to that particular institution in writing an award for you. So I just wanted to caution everyone from attaching themselves too much to the number that comes out from submitting the FAFSA or net price calculator. There's a lot more to it. It's a beginning step.
Okay, potentially misleading.
Yes.
Yep. All right, well, that is a wrap for us. Pat, you are welcome. Sal, waiting on, okay, I got your comment, waiting on the aid package from Alabama. They are more of a merit school than a need-based school, so that's the best bet. Hope, fingers crossed. And we will wrap up. So if you, again, tune in Friday if you have any specific questions about your personal situation. And please like, comment, share, whatever you do on Facebook. Any parent that you think could use this information or help from us, whether it's the free stuff or our services or anything, I'm happy to talk to them. We're happy to help them out any way we can. And thanks.
Thank you.
Happy end of February. All right. Bye.